So I've changed my opinion on a few things this year about fishing. We always get stuck in our heads, don't we? I think sometimes things that definitely work and I'll do them 100%. Well, here's 10 things that I've changed my mind on. There we are. Lovely. Well, fixed ball or multiplier has been a sort of theme throughout the channel. Sometimes we're using multipliers, sometimes we're using a fixed ball, and I've chopped and changed distance wise with casting. I'm about the same. Multipliers, brilliant. You're more in contact with the rod, it's less sort of wobbly and unweighted. So for pure casting, I really enjoyed a multiplier this year. The fixed ball gives us so many more advantages. It's just easier to cast, especially with that continental rod, and just sort of simple flick it out sort of fishing. So the conclusion is next year, rather than go one or the other, so this year we're going to say one rod with a multiplier, one with the fixed ball, and I think that's the way forward really. Don't stick to the same old baits. You can see the mullet here. Well, the bass were eating the bread as well, so add bread to the things that bass will eat. I've also learned a big difference between the types of worms. We've been using the salted lug, and I know we've had good success with the place with that. Sticky black lug, but the best is going to be fresh. So just change the baits up a bit really. I think this year I've used lug as a default, but really using the ragworm, looking for what's been washed up as well on the beach, changing the bait. I'm too stuck in my ways with this lugworm. Yes, it can work out, and yes, it's the standard bait for any beginner really to get. And I think we're going to be using a lot more variety of baits in 2022. So if there's something you think I'm missing, please let us know in the comments. The first and last of the flood have statistically been the best for fishing by quite some margin actually. Soon as that tide starts to move round about the low tide, is when I want to be fishing, just to narrow it down. Of course you can catch fish throughout any state of the tide, as we've always talked about, and for me it's got to be the first of that flood, and actually the last of the flood has produced some good fish this year. Good sole at the top of the tide, good smooth hound at the top of the tide, and some good bass on the lower tide. Next one for me is to try and stick at the same mark. I spent a lot of time going between different places, hearing what people have said were being caught, and then rushing off to somewhere else down the coast. I think I need to have a bit more faith in where I'm fishing. I've certainly sorted that out for a reason, and I need to fish it through the tide and find out more about particular venues, just staying there. And a lot of this was actually prompted by the tips video we did as well from the Gambling Angler, who talked at length about this point. Single hooks are great, easy to unhook the fish, but statistically I've really missed so many fish, missed bites using single hooks. So yes, you've got to get the right sizes, and we do have a good list for those now. But at the end of the day, they do catch the fish, the trebles. So my conclusion is trebles to actually land the fish. I want to take this opportunity to talk to you about Skillshare. For those of you that don't know, Skillshare is an online learning community full of thousands of inspiring classes for creators. Explore new skills, deepen existing passions, and get lost in your creativity. Skillshare is really good. I've been using it for YouTube success, script, shoot and edit with Marcus Brownlee. I know there's a few of you that watch the channel, also YouTubers yourself. It's things like this that can really make a difference, and Marcus makes it really easy in digestible chunks to learn what you need to learn to become a better YouTuber. And the first 1,000 of my subscribers that subscribe using the link below will receive a whole month free of Skillshare. And I think put the pulley on. One last cast. Looking through those catch records as well, it's amazing how many times I've caught a half decent fish on that last couple of casts. Always worth putting it in that a little bit longer. Certainly had 2 or 3 very good bass this year on the last couple of casts. So yeah, that does work, and that is something I'm going to try and think about a lot. As soon as it's time to go, just give myself one more cast. You never know, do you? If you follow our channel a lot, you'll know that a lot of the bass come from close in. Surprising amount of fish come really close into the beach, as we know. However, when it comes to general beach fishing, I'm finding that longer casts can really make a difference this year. We've certainly had those sole, place, flounder even, where having a longer cast can get you amongst the fish. So I think a little bit more focused on distance casting, even getting that extra 20 yards or so, can really make a difference. Certainly through 2021, I disregarded casting as a out-and-out way to catch fish. Another thing I need to do is react to some of these tips that I get into either the website, sometimes on YouTube, or to the Saltwater Angler email, where people are saying what's being caught, where and when, and how they're doing it. And I really do appreciate all these tips, but I've kind of just stuck to what I know. I do know the venues that are fishing well, and I think I'm onto something. We actually had some really good tips this summer about the bass and what the bass are up to, and I was a bit slow in reacting. And then what I actually found was these bass were exactly where one of the subscribers was telling me, and took full advantage of that. And we had some really good catch rates, so it's definitely something to pay attention to. And I think for yourselves as well, it's worth bearing in mind you will get these sort of tips from the local tackle shop, as we talked about before, and from other people that are out there fishing wanting to tell you about their catch. So yes, for me, stop thinking I know it all, really. Thinking that I know all these places to fish, when I could be looking at some really good information from other anglers. So yeah, that's one I'm going to try and do a little bit more of in 2022. Listen to those tips. A 5-ounce lead, you're more likely to hook into the fish. That was true of the smooth hound. I was trying to use a 4-ounce lead on those, but the 5-ounce meant for better takes and better hookup rates. So nice little simple one, 5-ounce leads instead of 4-ounce. Even though you can cast good distances with the 4-ounce, and it will hold bottom in a lot of the conditions we have, 5-ounce will give you better hookups. So I'm going to try and stick with some more 5-ounce lead fishing. Now, once you have a really good session on the fishing, you're catching fish, maybe different species, bigger fish, I need to make sure that I go back to that same venue either later in the tide or the same time the next day, and just sort of hammer that venue. Again, this was another one that came up in our tips video. I've certainly had lots of examples where the fishing's been really good and I've kind of knocked it on the head and said, yeah, I caught well, lovely, I've done my YouTube video. But actually, if I keep coming back, if an area's fishing well, there's a good reason for that. The fish are holding up in that particular area at that particular state of the tide. I just need to replicate it the next day and maybe the day after that. So hopefully I can give myself a little kick up the backside to get back to that same venue the next day or the day after, because I know it's been fishing well. So some small insights there that hopefully, even though they're just little changes, will make the fishing better moving forward into 2022 now. Thanks ever so much for watching. I do hope you have a good new year. What are your fishing plans for? So do let us know in the comments underneath what you're up to. And as always, thanks for watching.